I'm Mark Mullins in Austin. A number of Islamic private schools have been approved to be part of the state's new education savings account program. Starting next school year, the program will allow families to use taxpayer money on private school tuition and educational expenses. Now, several families and schools sued the state, alleging the state illegally excluded them from the program. Earlier this week, a federal judge extended the window for families to apply by 2 weeks as a pair of lawsuits by Muslim schools and families play out. The judge also ordered the state to send a link to Islamic schools to allow them to register. Now several have been approved. KVUE's Daniel Perot has more on the schools that have been able to apply.
Months after they first applied to be part of the state's new $1 billion education savings account program,
these schools, these parents are very relieved.
The comptroller's office has approved 4 Islamic schools named in recent lawsuits against the state to be part of the program.
The sequence of events is very telling.
In court filings, the state has cited additional verification measures for schools accredited by Cognia as the reason for the delay. But in court,
the state conceded that there were no accreditation issues with our schools. They were eligible to apply.
When the schools applied this week, they got instant approval, which attorney Maria Kari says she believes proves their case.
This was just an outright exclusion of Islamic schools from a government-funded program, which is unconstitutional. You can't do that.
In January, the AG's office ruled the comptroller can exclude schools after the comptroller's office raised concerns about schools affiliated with the Chinese government or that hold events organized by the Council on American Islamic Relations, which Governor Greg Abbott has declared a foreign terrorist organization. The U.S. State Department has not designated the group as a terrorist group.
This is about a national security issue, and Americans must take this growing threat seriously.
It tells our children that they're outsiders, and that's not who we are as a country. That's not who we are as Texas.
More than 229,000 students have applied to be part of the program, but Kari says many Muslim families have stayed out, unsure if their schools would be allowed in. While it's a relief for some, Kari says more than 24 other eligible Islamic schools not part of the lawsuit are still excluded.
That's something we're still watching closely.
As families continue to apply, Kari says their fight is far from over.
It's certainly not the end of the road. We're still in the early stages of the case.
Daniel Perot with that report. It is still not clear what will happen with the other Islamic schools not part of the lawsuit. The temporary injunction runs through March 31st, but the court could extend the order. Momentum is building to rename Cesar Chavez Street in Austin, but it won't happen overnight. Several Austin City Council members voiced support after a New York Times report detailed allegations against the late civil and labor rights leader. The city's Transportation and Public Works Department says there are 2 ways forward: through a council resolution or a community petition similar to the process back in 1993. Councilmember Vanessa Fuentes says community input will be key before any decision.
If we decide to rename this after an individual, who should that individual be? Icons like Dolores Huerta, local icons like Marta Cotera come to mind. And so there are a lot of options here for us to consider. And I think the process in which we go about it has to be one that's intentional and thoughtful.
Councilmember Fuentes says there's no set timeline for the name change. She says city leaders are looking for ways to gather community feedback in the coming weeks. More people are riding public transit across Central Texas, and those in the industry say it's all thanks to a big investment in mass transit. Here's Jose Alonso with a closer look.
The Richard A. Moya East Side Bus Plaza became a known destination in 2023.
5A and 5B.
Once large transit services Greyhound and Flixbus made it a primary hub.
And I like that there's a Greyhound station here. Because when I take the Flixbus here from Houston, I'm doing it from a parking lot now.
Houston area resident Talia Castle is from the Houston area. She says the amenities and investment put into this hub are strikingly noticeable.
It feels safe and convenient to me. It's nice to have a bus stop that has seats and bathrooms.
That's exactly what the communication director for Capital Area Rural Transportation System, better known as CARTS, likes to hear.
We're having 200 to 300 more passengers daily, and we needed to really upgrade our amenities.
The Texas Department of Transportation gave CARTS just more than $500,000 from federal grants to upgrade this heart in the state's transit system.
We were able to get new restroom facilities, which were really needed, some shelters and shade for passengers, as well as some new signage.
It's also a strategic move for carts.
Somebody coming from Bastrop could use our carts park and ride. They could take the bus and stop at the airport if they wanted to. Or they could come into the Eastside Bus Plaza, jump on another Capital Metro bus and go anywhere in the city. Or say they wanted to go to Dallas or Houston, they could jump on a Greyhound or a Flix bus and go inner city and all still have their car parked at the Bastrop Park and Ride.
This type of system is enticing to passengers like Jeff Kalma, who's on his way to the Alamo City.
Whenever you start getting into San Antonio, it's probably always going to be traffic. I mean, it's just probably, what, 1 million people down there now? So just being able to sit on the bus and not have that stress, you get to where you're going and you can just basically relax.
Jose Alonso, KVUE News.
Well, CARTS has launched 2 new routes connecting Lockhart and Luling and Georgetown and Round Rock to the Eastside Bus Plaza. The service is funded by a nearly $48 million EPA grant aimed at reducing traffic and emissions. Right now, the rides are free and will remain that way for 90 days before fares are collected. Raising a family comes with unexpected twists and turns, both challenging and rewarding. According to the CDC, autism impacts 1 in 51 Central Texas families. As Daniel Gomez shows you, now a Bell County dad is turning his experience raising a child with autism into a tool to help others navigate the challenges.
Come here.
Bill Murray is 6-year-old Rowan's dad.
Come on. Around 2.5 is when we first got an official diagnosis of autism.
And Rowan is Bill's shy, mostly nonverbal daughter.
There's no guide, and that's the other thing. It's kind of choose your own adventure.
Adventure often brings the Murrays to A.W. Pace Memorial Park.
She loves hanging out with kids, but in these types of scenarios, she has no way to communicate.
That led the tech salesman on a side quest of his own, reaching out to software developers to help develop the Brighter Buddy app.
Overall, the app, the concept is helping kids on the spectrum like my daughter not only communicate right from a speech perspective, because there's a million different apps like that, it's also taking that and building upon that speech in social scenarios, which is something my daughter gets into a bunch.
Bill programmed the Brighter Buddy app for children. It can test speech.
I want ball.
Kids can tell it a phrase, and the app will tell them when that phrase may be applicable to use with others. It covers social settings, presenting examples like this one of a friend deep in thought at the park and asking the child how to respond.
Dreamy dragon scenario. And give it a hug.
Bill even had these plushies made. It's to bring the app off the screen and help with overstimulation. All tools Bill believes could help Rowan take on the world.
A lot of these kids want to be autonomous, right? At the end of it, they want to be self-helping, and that's where Brighter Buddy came in and grew from there as an idea.
And it's an idea Bill intends to be a continuous adventure.
So you're not left at the age of 10, left at the age of 15, left when you graduate high school.
To help other parents who are on similar journeys with their children with autism. Daniel Gomez, KVUE News.
What a great tool to see there. That's all from us here in Austin. Hope you have a great day.